Alright all, and welcome back to a new video in the Day 2 preview of the Aintree Grand National Festival of 2021. Just finished up racing here on the Thursday card at 6 PM at the moment, and we'll be moving on into Friday's card. It was a tricky enough card today, a few results that I didn't think was going to happen, to be honest. I didn't think Abacadabras would have it in him to win the Aintree hurdle. He was super. Clande's Oboe, you know, that sort of thing could have happened, obviously. I felt a little bit aggrieved with a couple. The Shunter, if he'd only jumped, I do believe he would have won. He clouted the last three. If he jumped them well, I think he'd have been collecting. Monmoral, how good is this horse? I believe he's a superstar of a horse, to be honest. Had a few people tweeting me saying they thought Adagio would beat him. If he hadn't made the mistake at the last. He's beaten him 7.5 lengths. Like, fair enough, Adagio's made a bad mistake, but it's at max 2-3 lengths worth, and he was powering away at the line. I think he's a really special horse. They seem to be humming and hawing. Harry Cobden says he wants to send him over a fence. Paul Nichols says staying hurdling. I've backed him at 50-1 for the Arc. Look, it was a big price. 50-1, you can fire those bullets and hope one of them sticks. And he certainly got the ability, I believe, to make up into a Grade 1 novice chaser at some stage during his career. We were having a middling enough day, though, and we were going to be down on the day until the bumper, where Me Too Please won for Arthur Moore and Rachel Blackmore, 14-1. A great winner. I was just adopting the philosophy that Arthur Moore wouldn't be sending this mare over for the good of his health. She had an awful lot to find on the bare figures based off her day in Royal Rum, but that was promising when she won there under Noel McParlin. And I just thought she went through the race very, very easily. She went through the race like a very nice mare, then hung away to her left, all the way up the straight, showing clear signs of inexperience. But once she got to the rail, with that rail that there's a cutaway, and then you hit the rail on the hurdle track, with around a half furlong to go. Once she hit that, she was straight as a gun barrel and has won pretty cosily at the line from LA Bell. Eileen Dover, no doubt, a little bit disappointing, and I know a few of you guys in the comments really liked her. So it was a bit of a shame to not see Eileen Dover maybe run up to expectations. I think Day 2 is equally tricky. There's a few short prices in here. Shorter prices. There's a couple at bigger prices in the handicaps. Starting off with the 145, a very, very tricky 2 mile 4 handicap hurdle. I do believe this is a tough race. I'm going to give you 2 for it. One being Solwara 1 for Neil Mulholland and Robbie Dunn here off a mark of 134. He's currently 9-1. You can get each way with the majority of bookies. I think this horse could be an improver. Look, he's been tenderly handled over hurdles. This is the first kind of big thing he's going to be running in. So he does lack kind of big field handicap experience. He mightn't be up to it, but he seems to be a progressive horse in his novice hurdles, and he's duly in here off 134. I think he's got the scope to be better than a mark of this. Whether inexperience is going to count against him, perhaps, but you're going to get 5 or 6 places on this race, and I think Solwara 1's a lively one. He could be, as I say, he could be an improver. He could be a little bit ahead of this mark, and if he takes to the big field, he seems to go nicely on decent enough ground, so I'd be happy enough that he could show himself up well and run a big race. The other one I'm going to give is a horse I actually backed the last day at Newbury, and I felt I was a little bit unlucky not to collect at a big price, is Press Your Luck for Chris Gordon and Tom Cannon. Or no, not Tom Cannon, sorry, tomorrow. Josh Moore rides him tomorrow. I think Tom Cannon's on Edwardstone for Alan King. I think this horse has got a good chance. You can get 22-1 about him, so it is an each-way play, obviously, at a big price as well. But as I say, you can get 6 places. I thought he shaped very, very well the last day at Newbury. Before that, he was brought down at Kempton in a maiden or in a novices hurdle. He won 2 novices hurdles at the start of the year, both of which haven't worked out to be the worst races in the world, considering they were run in September, October time. Off a mark of 130, I still think there's a bit of a scope for improvement. I think a track like Aintree will suit his style, like Newbury. You know, it's a similar-ish track. Like, I'm not saying they're carbon copies, but big long straights to get into rhythm. You know, I think he's got a chance of running a big race at a big price. Moving on to the 222 mile novices hurdle, I'm going to keep this one pretty simple and sweet. I'm going to be back in Dusart at 9-4. I know he's got a bit of an absence to overcome. I just think the rest of these are fairly middling, to be honest. Third Time Lucky has been a little bit disappointing this year. Maybe better ground will see him to better effect. Any news? Agero. These are horses that are really coming from handicap company. Any News isn't. Sorry, he unseated the last day behind My Drogo, but Agero's been making his way through a handicap company. Belfast Banter's in there, who won the county hurdle. I still believe he's a bit of a mule, to be honest, and it's a difficult ride. This type of track might suit him, but he is a difficult ride. I believe Dusart, if he's anywhere near as good as they thought he would be at the start of the season, where I think they thought he was going to make up into a big supreme hope, I think he'd take the winning in this. And at 9-4, it's not that short actually, and it could be made. If he's as good as people think he is, and the stable think he is, 9-4 could look a big price come the end of the race. So I'm going to go in on Dusart. Moving on to the 250, the mile main novices chase over 3 mile 1. Two horses that, to be honest, I haven't been a massive fan of all year. I'm going to back in this race. I'm going to back them both each way. One being the big Breakaway at 13-2. I think he can reverse that form at Fiddler on the Roof in the RSA, or the Brown Advisory as it's now known. He went to attack Monkfish early doors, and Fiddler on the Roof kind of swept up the crumbs. Aintree, I'm not sure whether Aintree's going to suit him quite as well, just in terms of that there's a lot of, tight turns and fences come at you quick, and he needs to get into a rhythm, and he sometimes lets you down with his jumping, as he did at Kempton earlier in the season. I think he's a lovely horse, though. He's been a bit backward this year. He's been a bit disappointing. The Tizards have had a poor enough year. There's no getting away from that. But he has the ability to be bang there. Chantry House, you can't look at Fusel Raffles. Fusel Raffles pulled up lame, so that's kind of not here nor there, really, for the form. But a steering for Lange let it down, and you just would have your wonders about that Marsh form, whether how good it is, and I'd be prepared to take him on, especially at 6-4. The other one I'm going to play each way is Sporting John at 14-1. Look, this horse is a bit of an enigma, and his jumping has certainly left a fair bit to be desired, but he has a fair engine in there, as he showed when getting up to win the Scilly Isles Novices Chase. He will need to jump better than he did in the Brown Advisory and falling 2 out, but he could have fallen 2 or 3 times during that race. He has the ability. If he can put it all together, he will be bang there. But whether his jumping will stand up, I'm not so sure. So it's going to be a bit of a tentative each way shout. But at 14-1, you're able to risk a little bit at 14s, I believe. It's not like you're having to take 6-1, 7-1 about him. You're getting a good, juicy each way price, and I think he has the ability to do quite well and potentially go and win this race. The 325 even, the Marsh Chase, known really as the Melling Chase, I'm quite sweet on Notebook in this at 15-2 each way, just away from Cheltenham. His form is good. At Cheltenham, his form is brutal. I think a step up to 2.5 miles could well suit this horse. He beat Fakir Duderie earlier in the season at Naas convincingly. Fakir Duderie's a bit of an early horse. He's not a horse that does it for me, potentially, really. Dashel Drasher, I think, wants softer ground. Politolog is the standard bearer. Would it surprise me? He comes into the race a little bit like Clanday Zobo. So if horses don't perform, he'll be the one to win the race. But you'd like to hope that something could go and beat him. And I think Notebook has the ability to go and do so. You are taking a few, you're taking a chance just with his stamina. But that being said, he has shaped like he wants this trip. He's usually a very, very good jumper of a fence. I think 15-2 is a bit overpriced, to be honest. Also overpriced, I believe, is Nutswell for Anne Hamilton. You're getting a decent price about Nutswell just because of the trainer. I'm not going to put up him, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if he was to outrun his odds of around 9-1 that he currently is. The 405's the Topham Handicap Chase, a real bloodbath. I was glad enough that I managed to get one to hit the frame today in the Fox Hunters with Late Night Pass. I thought he was going to win at the back of the last for a few strides. Just ended up getting outgunned into third. Just with the drift, I'm going to play Livelovelaugh each way as kind of a safe option, and maybe that's a poor bet. Well, people will maybe say that's a poor bet because you are going safety first. But he's 7-1. He was 9-2 the other day, and 9-2 was a brutal price for this race, and also the fact that he doesn't win that often. But 7-1. You're getting a decent enough price now, and he's a good jumper. He usually runs his race. He ran a super race up until the Melling Road in the Grand National a couple of years ago, showing that he can act over these fences. And it would really, really surprise me if he's out of the first 5 or 6. I see some bookies even going 7 places for the Topham. It would surprise me if he's out of them. And at 7-1, you're making a profit if he places. So that's just my thought process on him. I believe that I wasn't going to put him up at 9-2, 4-1. That was a brutal price. But at 7-1, I think he's a very solid chance of filling the frame, and if he's got a solid chance of filling the frame, he does have, win possibilities. There's no doubt about that. Patrick Mullins gets the ride, and hopefully he can run a big race for Willie Mullins and Rich Ritchie. The other one I'm going to play is the Pat Fahey trained Dunvegan. I wouldn't say he's a cliff horse of mine because I haven't actually backed him too much, but I think he's been a cliff horse of many others. He just always is shaped like he's got a big handicap in him and hasn't been able to really prove it. Brian Cooper takes the ride for Pat Fahey. I think this horse has the ability to run a big race, and he's 25-1 you can get. Best price for this grey horse off a mark 142. On the whole, he's a pretty solid jumper. As he showed at Gore in the last day over 2-2 on heavy ground. He was a little bit flat-footed that day, despite jumping super on heavy ground as well. It was tacky ground that would have been hard to jump out of. I think a bit of nicer ground might suit this horse, actually. He's won over 2.5 miles in the past. This in-between intermediate trip at 2.5 could well suit this horse, and I'd like to hope that he could have a chance of squeaking in to the places and potentially have a sniff come the business end of this race at a big price of 25-1. The 440, similar enough to Dusart here, going to keep this sweet. Bravemansgame, I'm going to try and recoup some of the Ballymore losses on Bravemansgame, and I'm going to back him at 7-4 in this. That's the best price you can get. I think it's a poor enough race. Cape Gentleman, a very hard horse to get a read on. He's been up and down in trips, Streets of Doyen. I think he's more of a handicapper. Oscar Elite ran well in the Bartlett, but I'm not sure that Bartlett form was up to a whole pile. I'd take the Ballymore form over it, and I really do think it's a case of if Bravemansgame stays, he wins. I think he's the best horse in the race. He's the horse you'd want long term from this race, and as a result, I'm just going to keep with him. He slightly disappointed me in the Ballymore, but I'm going to keep with him, and hopefully he can go and do the job. The final race, the 5:15, a conditional Jocks handicap hurdle over 2 miles. Going to play 2 in this as well. And again, going to play one right at the top of the market in Copperless at 9-2. It's going to be a win bet, which is a bit ballsy, I suppose, in a handicap of this nature. I just think he's a very well handicapped horse off a mark of 123. Lewis Stones takes £7 off him, so he's in here off an absolute featherweight. He won very, very impressively the last day at Market Rasen, having won at Taunton before that. He seems to love good ground. He's an improving horse. Ollie Murphy's got his string in good form at this time of the year. And as a result, because his horses maybe weren't in form at the start of the season, he's got a few very nicely handicapped sorts. And I do believe this one being top of that sort of list. And 9-2... You know, it's a working man's price. If you got a 9-2 winner in a Grade 1 race, you'd be jumping up and down. So I'm going to take it. I'm going to be ballsy. I'm going to back him, even though he is the favourite. I do believe he is very well handicapped, and he's found at the top of the market for a reason. The other one I'm going to play in the race is Donald McCain's Goobinator at 20-1 each way. Gotta love the name, Goobinator. But I'm not picking him just for his name. I think he's quite a well handicapped horse still, of 133. Theo Gillard, the stable jock, or the conditional jock for the stable at Donald McCain's, take £5 off this horse. Just 2 starts back, he fell at Musselburgh, I believe it was, when upsides Tommy's Oscar at the last. And Tommy's Oscar is a horse I like a lot. Finished behind the shunter at Kelso before winning at Kelso the other week for Alan Hamilton. I think he's a progressive horse to keep the right side of, and he would have given that horse a big go. He won at Ayr earlier in the season. He has a little bit of a weird head carriage under pressure. He's still a baby, still learning to do the job. And I wouldn't bear in mind that third in a Jumper's Bumper the last day. I think Jumper's Bumper form you can kind of throw in the bin, if I'm being brutally honest. No more than schooling exercises for some of these horses. Goobinator, 20-1. It's a big price. I think he could run a big race. And he shapes like a big field handicap hurdle. Could well suit this horse. Maybe relax him a bit better. Get him passing horses. And potentially will be there at the business end. Anyway, I hope you guys did enjoy this video. And if you did, please do give it a like. And subscribe to the channel down below. If you're new around here, we're pushing for 3,500 subscribers. I think we're at 3,400 at the moment. It'd be great to get there by the end of this week. And obviously we've got great things to look forward to, including the Scottish Grand National, Punchestown Festival. Heaps to do, heaps to see, and hopefully heaps of winners to back. We had a good day today in the end with the bumper winner, so keep the revs high, just in case you have a bad day tomorrow, which I could easily have. You know, it can all change. I was having a middling day up to the bumper today, then you get a 14 to 1 winner. The whole day has been saved. So hopefully we'll find another couple of winners tomorrow, and I'll see you guys here tomorrow night to preview the big races on the Saturday, including the all-important Grand National. Hope you stay safe, stay well, land a few bets tomorrow, and I'll see you guys then. Cheers.